In this video, I'm going to show you how to automate combining multiple Google Sheet tabs into one master tab, as well as pulling the tab name. So some background, I have a client who sells a lot on Amazon, and he has at least 20 plus ASINs and wanted to analyze all of his sales performance in a single dashboard. So I wanted to use Google Data Studio as a data visualization tool since it's super user-friendly and free. However, Google Data Studio will only read a single sheet of a workbook, and Amazon only spits out these aggregated sales extracts. So that means to look at monthly performance, you would have to download a separate CSV extract from their seller portal for each month. I wanted the workflow to be so simple that you download the monthly extract, go into the tab of the corresponding Google Sheets, paste it in the new tab, and then the Google Data Studio dashboard would automatically update. So that meant I had to figure out a way to automate combining multiple Google Sheet tabs into one master tab. So just a side note, I am aware that they have an API, but we needed a little bit of a more lightweight solution. So here's my example spreadsheet, and each of these tabs is supposed to represent that raw extract data that you would get from Amazon. So I mock this data up by just looking at random ASINs for random products on Amazon, and then I just randomize these numbers. So by no means is this realistic data. I also know that the raw extracts usually get 30 plus columns, but I wanted a really clean example spreadsheet. So I just am showing what I think are the four most important metrics. So again, I need to combine these tabs into this one master tab. So in the master tab, you can see I've already pasted in the row headers, and these of course match the same row headers in the other tabs, except for this month column, just ignore that for now. So we're going to use the query function. If you are familiar with SQL, it's exactly that. So we're just going to start with one tab. So we're going to do the June 2020, and we're going to start with row 2 since I want to ignore the header. And then I'm going to go to 200 because I don't think this client is ever going to have more than 200 ASINs, but if I did, I would just increase this limit. And my query is going to be select all the data, that's what this star means, where column A is not null. And then since I started from row 2, no, there is no header, that's what that 0 means. Awesome, so it is pulling all of the data from the June 2020 tab, right? But the thing is, we actually want to look at June 2020, July, and August. We're going to ignore September for now. But we want to look at these 3 tabs, and then we want to perform the query on that combined data set. The way we do that is we use an array in Google Sheets. So if you look at the help page for using array in Google Sheets, you can see that you use a comma to separate columns to help you write a row of data, and you use semicolons to separate rows to help you write a column of data. So since we have the same columns in each of the sheets and we want to concatenate rows, we're actually going to use the semicolons. And the way you designate in an array is you surround it with curly brackets. So first we'll just do June 2020. And when you do this, for some reason, it no longer recognizes column A, so you have to actually make it column 1. And then semicolon, July 2020, August 2020, okay. And you can see here, now it's pulling in data from the June, July, and August. So we see here, we got 63 rows of data, and each one has 21 rows of data. So 21 times 3, that makes sense. So yep, we are pulling in the data correctly. So one thing is when you do this kind of array formula, you need to make sure that you are referencing the same number of columns within each of your references. And so that actually messed me up a bit because you see the way I reference the data sets, I don't include the column name. So I'm not saying, oh, June 2020, column A through F. I like to just say this whole sheet and just designate the row numbers. But what I didn't realize is somehow I had deleted column Z for some reason in June 2020. So when I first ran this formula, it was throwing me an error. It took me a while to figure out that I was missing a column Z. So now that that's done, I want to pull in also the tab name in column A. Like I want to know what month of each row of data corresponds to. And so the function that we're going to use here is cell. And so cell is a function that gives you information about a certain cell. So you'll see if I reference a different cell in a different workbook, let's just say this one, you can see in the formula that it actually has the tab name before the cell reference. So we're going to use that to our advantage. So we're going to use cell. So you can see here that you can request a lot of info about a cell. You could request prefix, row, type, width, but the one we care about here is address. So we are going to request the address, and we're going to start with the June 2021. All right, so now we have the actual address of that cell that we just referenced. Thing is, we don't actually want this apostrophe and this exclamation point and these dollar signs and the cell reference. We just want June 2020. So we are going to use a regex replace. All right, and if you're not familiar with regex, basically it's looking at different criteria that would fit certain patterns that you're specifying. So here I'm saying it's going to start with an apostrophe, right? That address starts with an apostrophe, and then I'm going to designate my first character group, which is look at the group that meets this criteria. So all characters except for apostrophe. So end this character group once you hit an apostrophe. So I got to surround that with brackets, and it can be multiple characters. That's what this plus means. So all characters except for apostrophes, and it can be multiple characters. End that character group. Then it's going to be another apostrophe. Then it's going to be an exclamation point. And then it can be any character that you want. And I want you to return the first character group. So now you can see it's June 2020. The thing is, we want this to repeat for the number of times that there are rows in each sheet to match each row we're pulling into the master, right? So we are going to put in end sequence. This is going to tell you how many times. So how many times do we want it to repeat? We want it to repeat for the number of rows in that column. So we're going to use a count A, and we'll say the June 2020 column A. And we want to ignore the header, right? Because we didn't pull in the header into this master tab. So we want a -1. And because this is going to be, this would naturally output a numerical output. So we actually want it to be a text. So we have to surround it by this T function. But it didn't actually repeat, right? And so that's because this function here isn't explicitly an array. And so it's scared of overflowing its one cell. So we need to actually explicitly tell it like, hey, it's okay to go beyond your one cell with an array formula. And then now it can repeat. And you can see it repeats 21 times because we have 21 rows of data. Remember, we're not including the header. So just again, remember we are basically getting the text June 2020 up until this regex replace. And then we're saying, okay, use the sequence function, right, to repeat the number of times that there are rows in that tab -1 minus the header. And then that is going to be an array. So don't worry about, overflowing your one cell. And so now we're going to do exactly what we did before, right? We're going to put curly brackets around this whole formula. Let me pull it down. And now we're going to do a semicolon, and we're going to copy and paste this. Oh, missed a line. For July 2020. It's the same thing. We just want to run the same function, but now we want to run it on the July 2020 tab. And then let's do this for the August 2020 tab, right? Nope, and I forgot no semicolon because that's the last one. So now you can see it perfectly repeats and lines up with our data. So there you go. You can pull in your tab name as well as all the data from your combined tabs into one master tab. So like I originally said in the beginning, I actually want to create a bunch of blank tabs, right? Because I want in the future to be able to come in, paste it, and everything's going to automatically update. So what you actually need to do is you need to also include September into all of these. And you can do this for as many tabs as you could think of, but we're just going to do one because I think you'll get the point. September and September. right? And we're going to add September to this formula as well. Okay. So you can see that nothing is appearing here, but whoa, what's this error, right? This is just because there's blank, there's nothing in this tab, so it's just very, very confused. And so we're gonna wrap this, I don't want that, so we're gonna wrap this in an if error, then just leave it blank. You want this because it will mess up your dashboards if you have a random row with just an error in one column. So you can see that there's nothing appearing for September, right? But let's just copy over August into September, right? Go to the master and boom, there's September with 21 more rows of data that completely match the August ones. But there you go. So you can create as many blank tabs as you want. And then when you have the data, you can go and paste it in and it will just automatically concatenate to this master, which will automatically connect to your dashboard and automatically update your dashboard. So there you go. That's a quick and easy way to combine multiple Google Sheet tabs into one, as well as pull in the tab name.